Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today we'll be discussing the new moon in Scorpio on the 18th of November at 11:42am Universal Time. Along with the general themes, this new moon will involve and some of the aspects it's forming. So with the new moon in Scorpio, this is a time for assessing what new goals we want to set for ourselves in areas ruled by Scorpio. So this is things like bringing our own conscious minds to conscious awareness, understanding our relationship with power, and looking at our most deeply connected relationships, our most personal, intimate relationships, and assessing are they balanced at the moment, or is it a mutually empowering relationship, or is there a lot of conflict and power plays going on that we want to change. And it's also about, Scorpio does a lot of healing work as well. It's the deep transformational healing at the deep levels of the psyche rather than just the surface level healing. So these are some of the themes that we may be looking at during this time. So with Scorpio, in terms of the healing aspect of it, this is about becoming aware of the deeper levels of our psyches, the unconscious mind and subconscious attachments which drive a lot of our behaviour without us necessarily recognising it. But this new moon is one of those where we either choose to do this work or we choose not to do it and carry on experiencing the same problems that we had before. So with the new moon here in Scorpio, we may decide that we're tired of things happening the way they are. We're tired of the same reactions or the same events happening, and we want to understand what's going on at a deeper level that's driving these behaviours. And with Scorpio, it is about having the courage and the self-honesty to go take that inward journey down to the core of who we are and face all of those shadow tendencies that we may not be consciously aware of. But when we look at what's happening within our personal relationship with people, especially when there's conflict, and looking to going away and meditating on it, so taking that, spending time by ourselves after we've had some kind of conflict and meditating on it, evaluating what was going on there, why was this conflict taking place, how was I behaving, how was the other person behaving, and why were these interactions going the way they were, and digging down, because Scorpio gets to the root of something. So Scorpio is not satisfied with just sticking a plaster on a wound. It wants to get to the core of that wound to clean it, but also understand why that wound is there to begin with. Scorpio is the often quite painful journey of going into our core wounds, especially the ones which involve our relationship with power, and finding a higher meaning, or finding out what's causing it, why is it there in the first place, and removing the root of that wound, the root of that behaviour. Because if the root is not removed, that behaviour can just come back. Scorpio does that deep rooting through the psyche into the darkest corners to find where these roots are going and where they need to be pulled out so that we can transform the behaviours, so it's no longer taking place, and where that wound was, fill it with unconditional love for ourselves rather than leaving an opening for a new wound to take place. So it's doing the work of digging out all that muck, all that psychic debris related to old wounds, and letting go of it, cleaning it through love, and then feeling healed and whole again, so that wound is no longer a trigger within our psyche. So when similar events that caused it in the first place happen, it's not pressing on an old trigger point. We've let go of it, so the behaviour no longer affects us. We're no longer at the mercy of our external environment, no longer at the mercy of these emotional triggers, and this gives us the power to choose our response to how something is unfolding, so that we operate from a place of personal power rather than being at the whim of other people and what they say. Because quite often what people say is not necessarily intended to be hurtful, it's just the way they've said something which has triggered a part of us from the past which we'd forgotten about, but this person brings it to the forefront. If this happens, it's important to see it as an opportunity to transform this issue. So if someone said something and it was just a throwaway remark, chances are it wasn't intended to hurt, but if it did hurt us, then we need to ask ourselves why, and to find the original wound, if you like, that's causing this reaction, and heal it. Now this is also an opportunity to address our relationship with the nature of power. Because Scorpio is a sign that looks at power at different levels. So a lot of the power we see in the world around us is based on the nature, or based on the assumption of external power, or that power is defined as how you can control other things. But the thing is, if we're always trying to control other things and everyone's doing that, inevitably there's going to come to a point where there's a clash of needs over the same resources, and if we're basing our sense of being powerful over our ability to control these for our own purposes at the exclusion of other people, then conflict will naturally arise. So it's important that we look at our relationship with power and ask, do we associate being powerful with how we can control other people, or do we actually see power as something that comes from within us? Because true power does come from within. It comes from a place below all egoic attachments, below all conditioning, and that we have the power to tap into this at any point. We have the ability to tap into this transpersonal power, which is our cosmic roots, at any point. But we have to break through the attachments first, the subconscious attachments to wounds and subconscious attachments to victimhood that drives our need for, or drives our desire for things like revenge, drives jealousy, resentment, anger, rage, and all those powerful emotional charges that Scorpio represents within us. Because we can face these clashes, face these wounds and transform them so that we can tap into that cosmic power at the core of who we are, and that only works through love, not fear and anger. If we can love ourselves through taking this inward journey of self-transformation, of healing the wounds, then we can tap into the true power at the core of who we are. And this then enables us to understand the power of sharing resources rather than fighting over them. Because when two people who both have their own personal resources, but both of them are empowered individuals who understand who they are, understand their own shadow, but also prepared to, or open to loving other people unconditionally, and these two people both consciously merge their resources and their energies, this creates a far more powerful shared energy than is possible for a single person to wield alone. But we have to do the inner work individually first, through evaluating the shadow being shown back to us through other people. Because when we do this, we free ourselves up to love unconditionally towards other people without them having to provide a certain need for us. We meet our own needs. The other person just is that extra bit of spice that makes life much more interesting and allows us to achieve far more together than we can do apart. But it's not the other person's job to change us. We have to change ourselves based on letting go of what isn't us, so we become more of who we are, that authentic self that underlies everything and is not subject to conditioning. So this is a time where there may be a lot of transformation of the self taking place if we choose to embark on this particular path. Now we also have a trine from Chiron in Pisces. Chiron is retrograde at the moment and will be turning direct in December, but Chiron in Pisces is all about the wounded disconnection. And the wounded disconnection is often the source of what drives the need to try and control other people, because we don't feel that connection to source, that connection to unconditional love, the Godhead, if you want to call it that, or universal consciousness, that allows us to radiate unconditional love and empathy towards other people without being drained by interacting with other people. So if we feel cut off from this source, we feel disconnected, then we need to ask ourselves why. What pattern within our unconscious mind is driving this sense of disconnection? And if we're feeling addicted to anything, this could be drugs, could be alcohol, could be to other people, it could be to sugary foods which modify our consciousness briefly to help us to feel satisfied, but then later on we get the withdrawal effects. It's a time that we need to look at these addictions within us and ask, why do we have these? What is missing, or what are we trying to compensate for in our lives? Generally, what we're trying to compensate for is feeling separated from that sense of oneness, of unconditional love that connects all of us at some level, but we have to consciously realise this. It's all very well and good saying we are one. Yeah, that's true, but we have to actually transform ourselves in order to realise this truth. Otherwise it just becomes an empty mantra. So with Chiron retrograde in Pisces forming a trine to this new moon, this is an opportunity to do a lot of transformation work through the opening ourselves up to the light of cosmic love and shining this into the dark recesses of our own personal unconscious, so that we can find out what negative attachments drive our behaviour, what do we need to let go of in order to feel able to connect with this source to begin with. Because quite often there'll be some kind of internal block. It may be a lack of self-love, believing that we're not worthy of love. So we need to address these negative or limiting beliefs at the same time in order for this transformation to take place. As the new moon in Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, but first, to manifest the high levels of Pluto, we have to do the Chiron work, because Chiron is like a gatekeeper. It's both the lock and the key to move into the realms of the soul. So if we don't deal with these core wounds, and at the moment the ones being addressed or highlighted are the wounds of disconnection, if we can heal these wounds, this opens the doorway for cosmic awareness, of understanding the wider nature of things, understanding our place within the big picture. But we have to address these wounds first, and the new moon in Scorpio forming this trine indicates that the two sides are very much required to be done at the same time in order for us to move forward, in order for us to empower ourselves through self-love and letting go of old wounds, letting go of the need to base our identity in wounds, so that the wounds can heal, they can be let go of, and we can achieve more of who we truly are, that understand who we are at the soul level rather than just the reactive ego, which is based on base our identity on the physical world around us, which by nature is temporal when our souls are not. So if we can heal these wounds within us, we can transform our sense of self to the soul self rather than ego, and this then empowers us to radiate unconditional love, to utilise our inner power for the benefit of the wider world and not just for ourselves, and we can achieve a great deal of healing. But again, we have to make the choice to do this. The world, we're not forced to do anything by astrology. It provides influence, it provides guidance for what steps would be a good one to take at this point in time to transform ourselves, because through the self-transformation that ripples outwards and affects the collective unconscious. So the more people wake up and transform themselves through, learn to love themselves at every level of their being, this inner work radiates outwards to the wider world. So this is the true work of transforming the world around us. It's to transform ourselves and be that change that we wish to see. We can't force other people to do it, but if we're doing the work ourselves and setting a new example based on mutual love, mutual empowerment, and mutual empathy towards other people and towards ourselves, then we can bring the world more towards love rather than towards fear and domination. So I hope the new moon brings you many blessings and gives you an opportunity to undergo any healing that needs to be taken, and I hope you go far on your journey, and I hope you get many blessings from the new moon.